We're well into July now, and I wanted to talk about harvesting your cool season vegetables. Now, lettuce is what we have here, and we have like a lettuce mixture. Now, these plants here, where you see the seed heads coming, and even the ones down here that are just starting to form the seed heads, the lettuce is going to be bitter. I mean, these are, not like if I were to pick a leaf off, and you can see, if you look on the inside of the leaf, you'll see it looks like a milky white substance. And that's basically means that the lettuce is going to be bitter. So basically what I do for these is I just let them go to seed. And a lot of these plants will go to seed, and then I'll get my fall lettuce by letting them go to seed, which is nice. Now, as far as which ones to harvest, I personally will go through and look for lettuce is cut and come again. So basically you can pull leaves off without pulling the whole plant. So you can pull leaves off and come back the next day and pull more leaves off, and they'll grow. So I've been actually pulling from this area of lettuce for a couple of months now. And so anyway, I try to take good sized pieces of lettuce. So if I'm going to pull this is a decent sized piece of lettuce. I usually like to pick pieces of lettuce that are about the size of my hand. And the reason I do that is because the lettuce doesn't wilt as much when it's bigger, and it's easier to clean. You can get a lot more lettuce. You're not cleaning each individual little teeny pieces of lettuce. So I'll go through and pick out the nice big crisp pieces that aren't bolting, that don't have a lot of the milky white on them, and so I'll get a good basket full every day, and for salads for that particular day. Now, when I get into the house, what I'll want to do is, and I usually pick my lettuce early in the morning, because if you pick in the summertime, late in the afternoon, or in the heat of the summer, it'll wilt pretty quickly. I mean, it'll wilt almost immediately from picking it. So you want to pick in the morning. What I'll do is I'll pick everything real quick, and then I'll take it inside, wash it. And what you want to do when you wash is just gentle wash. You don't want to completely douse the leaves, because that will damage them too. So you want to just enough to make sure they're clean. And then I'll take like a Ziploc bag. Well, I'll lay them out on a towel, let them dry a little bit. You don't want them to be completely dry, but you don't want them to be so wet that the leaves are sticking together. So you put them in your Ziploc bag. You can force a good chunk of the air out. Don't worry about getting all of the air out. You want a little bit of air in the Ziploc bag, and then have all your leaves in there, and then put them in the vegetable drawer. So in that Ziploc bag, where they're not being exposed to more air, and they've got a good humidity from that little bit of residual water, they'll usually last for I would say 3 or 4 days in there. Otherwise, if you just left them out in the refrigerator, you'd be lucky if they weren't really wilted by dinner time. Now, with your sugar snap peas, it's important that you pick the snap peas when the pod is mature, like this one, but the peas have yet to start really protruding inside the pod. This is when they're at their sweetest. And the other thing you want to know about sugar snap peas is if you don't pick them and you let the pods go to maturity to where the peas inside really get mature, they'll stop producing pods. But if every day you come out and you pick the sugar snap peas, you'll get more. They'll keep growing back, over and over again. So that's the really nice thing about snap peas. Now, if you sow your carrots in the early spring, a lot of times they won't be fully mature until the fall. But you can certainly eat them earlier than that. Now, I personally will, I'll pull them early, because I want to eat them, sort of ongoing. So every day, even through the summer, it's July now, I'll go ahead and pull a couple carrots. I'll thin out my carrot area and pull a couple every day just to eat fresh. So I like to have some carrots early in the season, but if you want them to reach full maturity, you have to wait a little bit longer. But as you can see, you still get a a nice decent sized carrot. Now your parsnips, which are an awful lot like carrots, they take a lot longer to mature than the carrots. So if I sowed these parsnips here in early, I think it was like mid to late March, and I could pull them now, but they really don't reach maturity until late fall, even early winter sometimes. So what I'll do is I'll eat all the carrots first, and then in the late fall, early winter, when there's really not much else around, I'll start pulling the parsnips. Now you can pull your onions as soon as you've got a bulb, and you'll be able to see the size of the onion pretty well, because the top of the onion will stick out of the ground, so you can kind of get an idea of the diameter that your onion's going to be. What you'll want to do is you want to wait until the top foliage is pretty much done. It's not really very green anymore. A really good sign is when it flops over like this. See how it's not, if the onion is like this, it's growing straight up, it's still got greenery, I usually let those go. And that means they're still growing. Once they start to flop over like this, they're pretty much ready to pull. Now you can leave them in the ground like this for a while if you've got a surplus of onions and you don't want to pull them all yet. So what I'll do is I'll take the one that looks the least green and flopped over, and I'll go ahead and pull that one. And here you go, here's your onion. So pretty easy. Doing it this way, a lot of times I can have onions for pretty much all the way through the summer and into the fall. And I'll go ahead and cut, take some of the, if you really want them to last a little bit longer, you leave the dirt on them and just wipe the dirt off. Don't pull any of the onion skin off, but we're going to eat this pretty quick, so I'm just going to clean it off here. Anyway, pretty simple, and then you have a nice yellow onion. Now I've already harvested my main heads of broccoli, and basically when you're trying to figure out when to harvest your broccoli, you have to look at the florets. Now the florets are going to be either tightly clumped together like you typically see your broccoli at the grocery store, or you'll start to notice over time the florets will start to separate, and then if you wait long enough they start to kind of bulge, and then they end up flowering. Now this floret here is, you can see the pods are starting to bulge. Eventually these are going to pop open and flower. So ideally you wait until the florets are at their absolute biggest, right before they start to separate, or if you start to see them start to separate a little bit, you can go ahead and cut them. But if you wait too long and they start to bulge and then they do flower, don't worry, you can still cut them. It's still edible. You can even eat the flowers, so it's not a big deal. And with broccoli, you cut the broccoli head. I mean, even these, now you get like these bigger leaves like this, I don't typically eat those, but I'll feed them to the chickens. But these smaller leaves, I'll cut them up and put them in the salad, and you can eat the leaves as well. Now your cauliflower is pretty simple. You'll get one large cauliflower head, and that's about it. It's typically pretty easy to see the head forming, and for me, I just kind of wait until I get a mature size, which can range from softball to soccer ball size, and then I just cut them when I want to eat them. Now, typically when your cauliflower heads are forming, the leaves will start to separate and you'll actually be able to see the head. If you do that and you let the cauliflower florets exposed to the air, a lot of times that white cauliflower color will change to almost like, it'll get like a little bit of a brownish tinge. It's almost like a purpley brownish tinge. And a lot of people don't like that. I personally don't. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't change the taste or the nutrients, so I just kind of let it go. But if you want to have that nice bright white, you'll want to like use rubber band or something to keep the leaves covering your cauliflower head.